There is a country in the Middle East that has never officially tested a nuclear weapon, never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, never admitted not once that it possesses nuclear weapons. And yet almost every intelligence agency on the planet agrees Israel has the bomb. This is not a conspiracy. This is a policy. They call it nuclear ambiguity, and it may be the most calculated silence in the history of warfare. Israel's nuclear program is believed to have begun in the late 1950s with help from France centered around a reactor built deep in the Negev desert near the town of Dimona. For years, Israel told the world it was a textile factory in the middle of a desert. Nobody was supposed to look too hard, and for a long time nobody did. Today, most analysts estimate Israel holds somewhere between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads. The range itself tells you how little anyone actually knows. In 1986, a former Israeli nuclear technician named Mordechai Vanunu went to a British newspaper and revealed the inner workings of Dimona in extraordinary detail. Photographs, schematics, the works. Israel's response. They kidnapped him from Rome, brought him back to Israel in secret, and put him in prison for 18 years. 11 of those years were spent in solitary confinement. Vanunu didn't just reveal a weapons program. He revealed the lengths a government will go to protect a lie it has told the entire world. So why the secrecy? Because Israel's ambiguity serves a strategic purpose. It deters enemies without triggering a regional arms race. If Israel says we have nukes, every rival state has political justification to pursue their own. But if Israel says nothing, if the weapons exist only in rumor and satellite imagery, the deterrence still works and the provocation stays invisible. This is a country the size of New Jersey. It is surrounded by nations that have at various points in history declared their intention to destroy it. And sitting in the Negev desert in silence is the insurance policy that no one will ever officially acknowledge. That is part one. Now, let's talk about the country that has never been quiet about what it's building. For decades, China followed what it called a doctrine of minimum deterrence. The idea was simple. We have just enough nuclear weapons to make sure nobody attacks us first. No more, no less. Clean, restrained, philosophical. That era is over. What China is building right now is not minimum anything. It is one of the fastest nuclear buildups in modern history, and most people haven't noticed. China tested its first nuclear bomb in 1964, becoming the 5th country in the world to cross that line. For the next 50 years, its arsenal stayed relatively small. Most estimates kept it below 300 warheads. China didn't need more. Its landmass is enormous, its population was its strength, and its nuclear posture was defensive. That was the story everyone believed. Then, satellite imagery started telling a different story. In 2021, researchers spotted over 100 new missile silos under construction in the Gansu province desert. Then more in Xinjiang. Then more still in Inner Mongolia. The Pentagon's own reports now project China could have as many as 1,500 warheads by 2035. That is a 5-fold increase in roughly 15 years. When a country that preached restraint for 60 years suddenly starts digging hundreds of new missile silos, the world pays attention. Or it should. China's nuclear forces are organized under the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, a branch of the military elevated to independent service status in 2015, a signal in itself. They operate a full tried land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and a growing fleet of nuclear-capable bombers. Their DF-41 missile can reportedly reach the continental United States. Their DF-5B can carry multiple warheads on a single rocket. And unlike Israel, China does not hide any of this. It parades its missiles through Tiananmen Square. It publishes white papers on its nuclear doctrine. The ambiguity here is not about whether the weapons exist. It is about what China actually intends to do with them. This is part 2. In the next 2 parts, we go deeper, because the numbers only tell half the story. The strategy, the delivery systems, and the terrifying gap between these two arsenals, that is where it gets truly remarkable. There is a nuclear doctrine so extreme that its own government has never officially confirmed it exists. It has no press release, no white paper, no treaty commitment, and it may be the most consequential strategic posture in the modern Middle East. It is called the Samson Option. The Samson Option is simple and horrifying. If Israel faces total destruction, it will take everyone else with it. A last resort so catastrophic that even threatening it changes the behavior of every nation in the region. The name comes from the biblical figure who, blind and imprisoned, pulled down the temple on himself and his enemies. That metaphor was not chosen lightly. It captures exactly what Israeli strategists intended: a deterrent rooted not in survival, but in the certainty of mutual annihilation. Israel's delivery capability is more sophisticated than most people assume. Beyond land-based missiles, Israel is believed to operate a second strike capability from its Dolphin-class submarines. German-built submarines modified, it is widely reported to carry nuclear-armed cruise missiles. This means even if every inch of Israeli soil was destroyed in a first strike, submarines sitting silently beneath the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, or the Indian Ocean could still respond. The attacker would know this. That knowledge is the deterrent. You do not have to fire a nuclear weapon for it to shape the world. You only have to make your enemy certain that you will. Israel's Geopolitics ballistic missile is estimated to have a range of over 6,500 kilometers, enough to reach well beyond the Middle East, potentially covering targets as far as Western China, Eastern Europe, or Central Asia. For a country whose land can be crossed by car in under 2 hours, this reach is extraordinary. It transforms a geographically tiny nation into a nuclear power with the reach of a continent. What makes Israel's nuclear posture uniquely destabilizing is not the weapons themselves. It is the uncertainty. Regional adversaries cannot negotiate with a policy that officially doesn't exist. They cannot verify. They cannot trust. They can only calculate and calculate again. In nuclear strategy, ambiguity is not weakness. In Israel's case, it has been a form of power wielded with surgical precision for over 6 decades. And yet, compared to what China is assembling, Israel's arsenal is a candle next to a furnace. Somewhere in the desert of Western China, construction crews are still digging. They have been digging for years. And what they are building is not a city, not a factory, not a dam. They are building the physical infrastructure of a nuclear superpower, and the scale of it is staggering. China is not modernizing its nuclear arsenal. It is rebuilding it from the ground up at a speed that has caught even veteran arms control analysts off guard. The DF-41, China's most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile, is a road-mobile solid-fueled weapon that can be hidden, moved, and launched within minutes. It carries up to 10 independently chargeable warheads, meaning one missile can strike 10 different cities simultaneously. It has a range estimated at over 14,000 kilometers. That is enough to reach New York from Beijing with range to spare. Underground China operates a network of tunnels reportedly stretching thousands of kilometers, nicknamed the Underground Great Wall, designed to move missiles, personnel, and warheads without satellite detection. The tunnels are not just protection, they are a strategic message. You cannot count our weapons, you cannot find them all, and therefore you cannot be certain you can stop them. An arsenal you cannot locate is an arsenal you cannot eliminate. That is the entire point. At sea, China's Jin-class submarines are expanding in both number and capability. Each type Zebulner 94 submarine can carry up to 12 JL-2 missiles, and newer submarines are being fitted with the longer range JL-3, which can strike targets from Chinese home waters. The submarine never needs to leave its own backyard to threaten the other side of the world. Now place this beside Israel's estimated 80 to 400 warheads, and the comparison becomes almost philosophical. Israel's nuclear program is about survival in a hostile neighborhood. China's is about repositioning as a global peer to the United States and Russia. Two completely different doctrines, two completely different scales, and yet both remind us of the same uncomfortable truth. Nuclear weapons have never been just weapons. They are arguments. Arguments made in steel and uranium, deployed in silence, and felt across every boardroom, every embassy, and every military command center on Earth, whether anyone admits it or not. That is the world we live in. And it is not getting simpler.